Good morning. My name is Johan Orjuela. I am a licensed clinical social worker and I work at EveryMind. I am the manager of counseling services. So today we're going to talk about how to improve your well-being through self-care. First, I want to tell you a little bit about EveryMind. EveryMind is a nonprofit organization in Montgomery County that has been around for over 60 years. It is one of the largest providers of school-based mental health services. It has programs and services for the entire lifespan, from young children to adults. It also has community education on mental health, or offers community education on mental health and wellness topics, including mental health first aid. We have both counseling and case management services for both children and adults. Another service available to the community is the crisis hotline, which not only has a phone, but also a text and a chat line. We also have services for veterans, where we do service coordination and case management and connecting the veterans and their families to different services that they need and benefit from. So our objectives for today, we are going to define stress, burnout, and self-care. We also want to understand the impact of self-care on our wellness. We will also explore or learn some self-care strategies. And finally, we will try to develop our own self-care plan. I want to begin by trying to define what stress is. So first of all, there's usually no universal definition for stress. However, we want to focus today on acknowledging that stress is a normal reaction that the body has when we go through changes. The body also responds to these changes physically, mentally, or emotionally. And we also want to say that stress has its good components to it, or good aspects, and it also has very negative and chronic aspects to it. So these would be the spectrum of stress. On the left side, one of the positive things about stress is that it can help us to feel more motivated, creative, and energetic to get things done, or to get things done that maybe we haven't been able to do before. On the negative side, we may experience the stress as something that is going to make us tired, maybe overwhelmed to the point that we don't know how to decide. Our mind also may become fuzzy, and overall we may feel really, really exhausted to the point that if we continue this way, we come to the burnout end of the spectrum. And now we want to connect how stress affects our mental health. These are some quick facts. 1 in 5 US adults experience a mental illness. So by having depression, anxiety, maybe PTSD, you are already vulnerable to stress. So if we experience stress, it will have more effects on the person's mental health. 1 in 25 US adults experience a serious mental illness. So this taking into account, again, the seriousness of a mental illness. And you will see on the right side, mental illness such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, depression, PTSD. And that's all counting, lots of adults who may have a mental illness in the United States. And look at how anxiety may be linked to stress already, 19%. This is a quote that is also like an invitation for us to really consider maybe taking a break. It says almost everything will work again if you unplug for a few minutes, even you. So just think about what this quote may mean for you. What would it mean for you to be able to unplug, disconnect, take a break, drop things aside for a little while? We want to now focus on burnout. According to the World Health Organization, burnout is described as feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion, increased mental distance from one's job, feelings of negativism or cynicism related to one's job, or reduced professional efficacy. So here, we may be talking a lot about the job environment or your work lives. We also want to take into consideration your personal life. It could be that you're also feeling very overwhelmed with at-home responsibilities, family responsibilities, maybe taking care of other chores or taking care of a health-related issue. That or those are also aspects that can lead to stress and burnout, not just the work part of your life. Physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by long-term involvement in emotionally demanding situations. Again, so if there's something really demanding at home, just as you're at your job, or with your family, or in your personal life, it may be that people are putting a lot of energy to the point that they will experience feeling exhausted, and this energy comes from the physical, the emotional, the mental energy that people invest in trying to manage any everyday situation. So stressors versus stress. What are they? We want to be able to differentiate them. So stressors. Stressors are what activate the stress response in our bodies. They can be anything you see, hear, smell, touch, taste, or imagine could do you some type of harm. And there are two types of stressors. One of them is the external stressors. So external means work, money, family, time, cultural norms and expectations, experiences of discrimination, and so on. So just think about for you, what would it mean, or what could be those external stressors that you may be going through your life. Internal stressors, those have to do with that inner voice, the inner voice that sounds more like the inner critic, body image, identity, memories, and the future. So oftentimes we think about the future, we're worried about the future. We are afraid of what is to come, and that's something that we don't know, and can cause not only anxiety, but definitely it can become that stressor really, really important to keep in mind when we worry about the future. Stress, on the other hand, is the neurological and physiological shift that happens in your body when you encounter one of these threats. It is an involuntary adapted response that helps you or helps us to cope with things like being chased by a hippo. And then your brain notices that the hippo activates this stress response. So you're trying to survive if you see a hippopotamus or a tiger. That is a normal and expected response that a human being can have. So for you, what are some events at work or at home that can cause stress? Just think about whatever situations or people that can cause or trigger that worry and then that stress. So we're gonna now think about some of the things that happen in our mind when we start to neglect how stress is impacting our body. So here are some examples of things that we may say to ourselves when stress is kicking in. One of them is, I use my free time to take care of that problem. You know, anything that you might be taking care of instead of you. Or maybe it could be an excuse. I don't have enough time to even get sick. Who's going to take care of these responsibilities that I have at home? Who's going to take care, or who's going to be able to help out with this or that family member? Some people may say, I just don't have enough hours in the day. Or some people may say, I'll get through that tomorrow. Some people may say, my doctor's appointment can wait. I'll just schedule it for another day. So imagine how we already might think about stress and neglecting our bodies. So it's like we're gonna continue with the stress cycle rather than taking care of ourselves. So understanding the impact of self-care on our wellness. So what gets in the way of self-care? Sometimes we have this guilt where we may end up thinking that we are selfish. We may be afraid of expressing our own needs. Maybe we end up thinking that asking for help is not acceptable. Sometimes we need that approval and that acceptance where we might say, if I do all that I can, I must be a good person. Or we may have an unreasonable sense of responsibility. We might say something like, if I don't do it, no one will do it. Or I am the only one responsible for that parent, that child, or that spouse. And here is an invitation to think about the relationship between thoughts, feelings, and our actions or our behavior. And this is probably what gets in the way the most, how our thoughts seem to inform how we feel and how we act on an everyday basis. And also the premise here is that we usually end up thinking what we discussed here. That maybe because we have these thoughts such as my needs aren't nearly as important as my loved ones, that may make us feel guilty or thinking that we're selfish. Or another thought could be, if I think about someone else's needs, I don't have to think about my own. Or if we have that thought where we might think that if we ask for help, we're weak, we might say something like, if I ask for help, they're gonna think that I can't handle life, or I'm just gonna appear as someone who is weak and not strong enough. So again, negative self-talk. I can't handle this. That's a very negative thought. I can't do this. I'm not good at this, or I'm not good at that. The feelings would be, just feeling overall hopeless or powerless, guilty, having some anger, and maybe even feeling depressed. And our actions here is simply that we may end up just neglecting our self-care. Maybe sometimes we decide not to eat the foods that we should be eating. Maybe we decide sometimes that we're not going to the doctor once again, or maybe not socializing. And this quote, I think, is very interesting. It says, if your compassion does not include yourself, it is not complete. So just think about that. We may have compassion and care for others, and how easy it is to maybe not care for ourselves, not have that compassion for ourselves. And now we're gonna try to explore self-care tools. So first, we want to focus on the emotional self-care. So that has to do with taking care mostly of our emotions. How are you feeling? So activities that would allow you to understand, accept, and cope with your emotions so you can safely experience your full range of emotions. So basically, we give ourselves permission to notice, acknowledge if we're angry, if we're scared, if we're afraid, or worried about something, acknowledging if we're glad about something, giving ourselves permission to just notice how it is that we're really feeling. Give yourself the time to understand and accept your emotions. Again, it is accepting our emotions for what they are. Mental health care. So that has to do with activities that can help you feel more clear in your mind and be able to engage in different aspects of your life. Setting goals is one way to prioritize mental health care, and it can help you in your overall self-care practice. So one example could be that you may identify one self-care activity. And maybe an example could be you think about going for a walk, 30 minutes, 1 hour. Set a goal to engage in that activity on a reasonable and realistic schedule. So if you can't do it for 1 hour, maybe you can do it for 30 minutes, or maybe you can do it for 15 minutes. Whatever seems more reasonable and realistic for you. And then you will try to hold yourself accountable by scheduling this activity into your everyday practice. So really putting down in your calendar or somewhere, such as cell phone, just adding a reminder, and really trying to stick to it. And then evaluate the outcomes. Reward yourself and adjust as needed. So just notice the good feeling that you might get after going for that walk. And again, it could be for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour, whatever you can do. And see if you feel some type of satisfaction. It does not have to be perfect. as long as you're able to feel like you're satisfied. So one example is that maybe you feel so satisfied just being able to go for that walk. Maybe another day you might feel satisfied to feel like you have more energy or that you got a good workout. Social self-care. So this has to do with interacting with others, participating in social activities, and being able to be with a group of people where you feel like you belong. This also includes asking for help and accepting help. Really assessing who it is that you can trust to do that. This can be very challenging for a lot of people. And maybe what can help people is to identify tasks that others can help you to do. Let them do that task, even if it is not the way you would want to do it. Allow people to do those tasks the way they know best how to do them. Also, look for community resources to assist. There are a lot of services out there that could help you to do some of the things that you may not have the expertise to take care of. Physical self-care. So this is kind of similar to the mental one, but here you are going to really notice how your body experiences the self-care. So those are activities that can help you to take care of your body and stay fit and healthy. That can be through eating healthier, actually doing more exercise, maybe doing yoga, eating more fruit, eating more vegetables, drinking more water, maybe drinking more teas that will be healthier for you instead of some other sugary drink or caffeine. And then we come to the spiritual self-care, which is very important for a lot of cultures. Being able to practice their religion or their spiritual or connect to their spiritual beliefs can be a huge game changer for their lives. So anything that can promote a sense of self and allow you to have that perspective and develop and understand your own values. Learn to experience, track your feelings and stress levels, and identify warning signs and triggers to better understand yourself. So yeah, it's more about really connecting to yourself as well, learning what's gonna be unhealthy ahead of time and trying to prevent stress from taking over. One of the things that also come to mind is maybe you want to prioritize after a busy week, going to church or attending a very spiritual oriented practice to help you reconnect to yourself. And here, I'm just gonna offer, or we're offering a list of self-care practices. So this list has been shared in person. We can definitely try to send you a copy so that you can go over it and choose some of these self-care activities. Notice that for the mental, you have things like journal, reading, taking breaks, cooking or baking, maybe watching a funny video, deep breathing. So that has to do with giving your brain and your mind that break or that release of tension and worry that you might experience on a daily basis. We also have the spiritual. Notice that we have things like self-reflection, meditation, yoga, affirmations, which are positive statements. One of my favorite affirmations is, I am worthy. I can do this. I am deserving. Notice that we also have prayer. Prayer can also be a huge game changer for people's lives. When they really connect to prayer, they can really have this sense of relief, and just overall more peace in their minds. And maybe keeping a gratitude journal. Again, that helps you to connect to who you are, what you're already grateful for, and just noticing the good things that may be happening in your life. Anyway, maybe we can really quick talk about the physical. Again, very important to perhaps exercise, really prioritizing healthy eating habits. What else? Going out for a walk. And look, there's also getting to the doctor, get medical care when needed. A lot of the times, a lot of us are very guilty of really neglecting our visit to the doctor. Practicing good hygiene. This means, are we brushing our teeth? Are we taking showers? Are we really, trying to take care of ourselves on a daily basis through some of these simple practices? Another big one, which I really like, is getting out in nature, going out for a walk around trees, being able to listen to the birds, or just seeing, noticing, all kinds of things that are happening in nature. Anyway, I hope this quick presentation helps you. This is a summary of one that I did in person, and we're hoping to do more in the future. Thank you.